On your Thursday episode of Locked On Raptors, the Raptors close out their home schedule with a shockingly fun win over a truly wretched Hornets team. Plus, their lottery spot is secured.
You are Locked On Raptors, your daily Toronto Raptors podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey, what's going on? And welcome to another episode of Locked On Raptors, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It is Thursday, April the 10th, and I'm your host, Sean Woodley. I've been covering the Toronto Raptors now for 11 seasons on various platforms. You can find all my work over on Blue Sky. You can also find the show on Instagram, and you can join us in the Locked On Raptors Discord server. Link in the description of the podcast. Free to join. It's a great little listener community we got building around the show. Of course, you can also subscribe for free to the daily Locked On Raptors newsletter. If you subscribe right now, between now and April the 30th, you'll be entered into a draw to win up to $2,500 in prizes from Best Buy. There's also a Game Time gift card available and a whole bunch of other stuff. More details on that to close the show. But subscribe if you haven't yet, please. It's great. You get me 5 days a week talking about your local basketball team. And boy, oh boy, we're going to have a lot of draft coverage heading in to the next couple of months. All right, on today's show, we're digging into a 126-96 win over the Charlotte Hornets by your Toronto Raptors to get to 30 wins on the season, which I believe means they hit their Vegas over, which is kind of shocking considering where things were to start this year. They also lock in 7th position in the draft lottery as the San Antonio Spurs come through and beat the Warriors of all teams, a very good team. We'll get into that a little bit and some other news blasts from the final home game of the year. We got the good, the bad, and the but let's just get into this game against the Hornets, which, look, it was fan appreciation night. It was a night where, kind of saying farewell, last day of school vibes, all of that. And it was one of the more strangely fun home Raptors games, at least over the last couple months for sure, as things have kind of been in cruise control mode. But even over the course of the year, there was just like a lot of fun things going on during this one. It was, nice, fun court night. By the way, if this is the last time that we see that version of the Raptors court or some iteration of it, somebody should probably be fired because that court rules. And I'm not here to call for people's jobs. It's unnamed people whose job I don't even know it is to decide what the courts are. But man, oh man, more purple next year. Just make that the full-time court. Everyone wants it. Please do it. And if that's the last we see of it, it's a crying shame. But in terms of the stuff that happened on the court in this game, there was a lot to just really keep you entertained, keep you laughing, keep you just kind of stimulated throughout this one, which was, look, the Hornets are so bad. The roster they rolled out for this game, I've been covering the NBA for 11 years. I don't know if I've ever seen a team throw out a roster this pathetic. It was, and look, I watched last year's Toronto Raptors to close the year. I watched the Tampa Raptors. This was an abomination of a roster from the Hornets. Tijon Salon, Yusuf Nurkic, Daquan Jeffries, Nick Smith Jr., KJ Simpson to start. Taj Gibson playing his thousandth game, very much looking like a man with 1,000 games of Tom Thibodeau minutes on his legs. Damian Baugh, that's a guy. Didn't know who he was. Jalen Sims, never heard of him. Wendell Moore, former guy I liked in the draft, who is not particularly good. This was a really bad Hornets team. The Raptors really didn't feel like they tried for this one at all. Scotty Barnes only plays 20 minutes. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel quickly just play 14 minutes. They could have played 0 minutes, and the Raptors would have steamrolled this Hornets team with their collection of rookies and two-way guys and 10-day guys, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of nice performances. Jared Rhoden looked really good, 23 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, 8 of 12, 3 of 5 from downtown. He's on the two-way for next year. I think Jared Rhoden's going to be someone who at least gets a look next season. He's got like an NBA build. He's a thick dude, and he's looked really good in his sparing time so far with the team. Then you get, of course, the big one, Jonathan Mogbo, who was a thrill to watch in this game. He played a little center, he played a little wing, and by the end, he was playing a little point guard. We got the point Mogbo that I was pleading for in the newsletter like a month ago, and we finally saw it, and he gets a triple-double, the first rookie in the NBA this year to secure a triple-double, 17 points, 10 boards, 11 assists to go along with 3 steals, a plus 20, 7 of 16 overall, dragged down by a 1 of 5 from deep, 6 of 11 on his twos. And just like a super fun Mogbo game where he was diamond dudes up whether it was creating from the top and getting into the teeth of the defense and spraying out, or picking out cutters from the top of the arc, which is a thing he's been doing a ton lately. Working two-man game with guards and wings and shooters. Really fun stuff from Jonathan Mogbo in this game. I got more on Mogbo to come up later on in the show, but I think the thing with Mogbo too, and his whole triple-double in this game, I think it kind of exemplified a prevailing takeaway I've had from this team all year long, but it really kind of shone through last night. Being around the team, it was a pretty joyful vibe in the arena, honestly. All things considered, Darko was, cracking jokes and having fun. It's shocking to me how much this team seems to like each other, how much this team still seems to be totally bought in, how much it feels like no one's exactly counting down so they can say 1, 2, 3 Cancun in 4 days. It genuinely feels like these guys actually like being around one another. They root for one another. And I think it suggests that the Raptors did, in fact, strike the perfect balance with their tank down the stretch, where they didn't completely throw in the towel and say, none of this matters. We're not going to give guys leeway to try or play minutes or get reps. We're not going to roll out exclusively G League guys like some of these other teams have been, just shamelessly resting guys who could probably play otherwise. Like, yeah, the Raptors didn't perfectly navigate tanking down the stretch of this season. But again, look at the teams they were playing. Look at the lineups that the Hornets and the Wizards and the Sixers and all these teams were running out. And on top of that, look at the way the Raptors, with their sort of skeleton crew roster, have just like played functional, well-coached basketball during this stretch, while these other teams are just kind of out there rolling it out and trying some stuff. Like, the Raptors were always going to finish where they have finished now in the standings once the schedule became what it became. And for the Raptors to have navigated this bizarre stretch where it would be very easy for the stars to be kind of sulky and upset that they're not playing, that the team's not, actively trying to be competitive and all of this, the fact that everyone still seems totally bought in, everyone seems completely for one another, having fun. It's intangible stuff. You can't quantify it. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. But being around this team this year, I've covered a lot of Toronto Raptors teams over the years. I think this is on the short list of just like liking each other per 36. If that's a stat, that's one that this team very much is near the top of the charts of when it comes to former Raptors teams. Like 2017-18 is the other one I can think of, where the bench mob, the team's winning 59 games, everyone's having fun. Kyle Lowry's taking a step back, DeMar's cooking, everyone's thrilled about that. Like, this has that same kind of vibe in terms of just like the inner workings of the locker room dynamics. The team just seems to like one another. I like to just, when I'm at games, one of my favorite things to do is just kind of watch warm-ups. I like to watch the rookies warm up in particular. There's been this like connected feel between all these guys who ostensibly are like competing with each other for jobs, competing with each other to be on the team next season. And yet it's a very familial vibe. And again, it might not matter when things really hit the road next year and they're trying to win basketball games, but I don't see how it doesn't. I don't see how it hurts. And I don't see how it doesn't help, frankly, to have a team that's disconnected. Darko talked about Jamal Shed before the game and dug into how he's been such this sort of source of positive energy and leadership and good vibes all season long. I don't think it's a coincidence he was given the mic at the end of at the start of the game to address the crowd on Fan Appreciation Night. A lot of stuff in this game just kind of put a nice little bow on the home schedule. It obviously has not been the greatest of seasons for the Raptors. Of course, they're going to be at best a 32-win team, missing the playoffs once again. And, maybe it sounds like Homer Rube stuff to be like, well, they're going to be fun and good next year. I genuinely think they are, because I just think there are too many good players on this team for them not to find regular season success. And the fact that they just really seem to love one another also feels like a good sort of check in the box of, things that you're hoping to see going into next year to drive positive, winning, productive basketball. One other thing that happened in this game might have been the best in-arena moment of the entire season. Did not take place at the hands of any Toronto Raptors basketball player. At halftime, they did a half-court shot contest. One shot, do or die, all or nothing. You hit it, you get season tickets for next season. And the guy just absolutely swished it, and the place went nuts. It was halftime, only half the seats were filled, if that, but it was like as loud a crowd pop as I've heard in that building in quite some time, certainly over the last couple months. and probably like a top 5 electric moment in the building this season. Incredible stuff. Just again, one of those things where this game, if you were at the game, we'll get into some other stuff they did that was really fun and nice, and all of that to kind of close off the 30th season at home. But like, yeah, just I don't know, man. As games against the Charlotte Hornets starting and letting starting Nick Smith Jr. and letting Yusuf Nurkic empty the clip, about as entertaining as you're going to get. And that's kind of been the Raptors' promise all season long. They're losing games, but they're pretty entertaining in the process. You take out the December chunk of this season and the last month or so where things have been kind of weird, and you're looking at a lot of pretty entertaining stuff, a lot of encouraging stuff that's gone on with this season. And yeah, I thought last night just like a really nice way to close out the home schedule, save for one thing, which we'll get to in the good, bad, and which I think they missed on, but we'll get to that. Either way, come back on the other side, get into some news business, some news and notes regarding the lottery. We'll recap where the Raptors sit now. Plus, Brandon Ingram, there was a report on his health before the game yesterday as well. We'll get to that coming up in just 1 second. Today's show is brought to you by TurboTax, Intuit TurboTax, that is. And look, with taxes, it's a lot of waiting, wondering, worrying if you're going to get any of your money back from the year that was. And I'll tell you what, I am a freelancer, and boy, oh boy, is my tax situation bizarre to sort out every single year. And TurboTax makes it so I don't have to wait, wonder, or worry. Taxes Now is just matching with a TurboTax expert who can do my taxes as soon as today. An expert who gives your taxes their undivided attention as they work on your return while you get real-time updates on their progress so you can focus on your day. An expert who will find every deduction possible and file every form, every investment, everything with 100% accuracy, all so you can get the most money back guaranteed. No waiting, no wondering, no worries. This is taxes. Get an expert now at turbotax.com. Go check him out. Today's show is also brought to you by our friends over at Prize Picks, the single best way to play daily fantasy sports. Baseball season's in full swing, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. It's that simple. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash, depending on how many guys you got in your lineup on a given day. Whether it's strikeouts, RBI, or first inning runs, Prize Picks keeps every game exciting. I don't know if you watched the Jays game last night. We had that up in the booth while we were watching this game in the building. Kevin Gausman throwing heat, 10 strikeouts. Maybe you take the more on Kevin Gausman strikeouts next time out, considering it seems like he's got that fastball juice back, baby. Wonderful to see. Of course, the Jays looking pretty good. Maybe you want to go string a few of those. You know, a couple hits here for Vlad, maybe a home run for Andres Jimenez. They don't hit many home runs as a team, so maybe you're waiting for that dam to break before you do that. But you can go take the less on home runs too if you think that they're just going to single their way to some victories against some pretty good teams. Either way, download the app, use the code LOCKEDINNBA, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDINNBA, $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Back at it here on the heels of the home finale for your Toronto Raptors. Got a couple of news items to hit on here. I guess first we should hit on the thing that everyone's really concerned about, which is the draft lottery position. The San Antonio Spurs got some work done early. Look, I was not concerned that last game of the season between Toronto and San Antonio was going to end up being an epic tank-off, because I think there's a very good chance the Raptors were going to lose to the Mavericks this coming Friday, and still will, because the Mavericks still have a home date in the play-in to play for. So, like, they'd be incentivized, play their whole team, probably smash the Raptors, who I'm guessing would not have played many guys if the lottery spot was not secured. The Spurs also play the Suns coming up this weekend, and the Suns are pathetic. So there was plenty of opportunity for that magic number to get whittled down from 1 to 0 between now and Sunday. But you don't have to worry now. You're not concerned because, of course, it's all settled. It's all done and dusted. The Raptors will be 7th in the draft lottery order this spring, or I guess next month, May the 12th. We're just over a month away, which means they'll have a 31.9% chance at a top 4 pick and a 7.5% chance at number 1 overall, which, hey, not so bad. You could do a lot worse than that. And we know, of course, the Raptors moved up to get Scotty Barnes from 7 to 4 back in the 2021 draft lottery. It's a flattened lottery world. They're in as good a shape as I think was reasonably to be expected considering the strength of the schedule down the stretch. And yes, maybe they could have tanked a little bit harder. I don't think they could have tanked 4 games harder to be as bad as the Brooklyn Nets have been down the stretch, or the 76ers have been down the stretch. I just don't think that was in the cards. They're going to be 7th. That's great. The draft lottery, May 12th again. They could fall as low as 8th or 9th, depending on how things go. Not a guarantee by any means, of course. The winners of the lottery could just be from the top 6 and you stay where you're at. That's unlikely. They're more likely to fall down than they are to move up or stay at 7. But still, I've talked about this draft lottery. I think there are 10 guys probably off the top that I'd be very comfortable with the Raptors taking. Feel happy about them being like the best prospect on the team. Although Jacoby Walter is certainly going to be making a case for that still, I think. I'm not concerned. If you move up to the top 2, fantastic. It's absolutely game-changing. It's wonderful. You can't bank on that saving you because even the worst teams in the NBA are more likely than not to be picking outside of the top 2 because that's just how the lottery is stacked. There's no need to sell your soul to be the 4th worst team in the league when the odds are still that you're not going to get the guy that you want up top. And as I've talked about with this draft, I still think the 1 and 2 spots, those are the spots if you can get in, great. I think Cooper Flagg in particular, no doubt franchise player. Whereas like Dylan Harper, I think it's a little more open to interpretation, though I think he's clearly the 2nd best guy in this class. Beyond that, 3 through 10, I think it's very fluid. I think there's going to be all kinds of sort of differing opinions, and positional needs will inform a lot of what happens with these guys. The Raptors are going to be just fine. We've seen they're pretty good at drafting. We saw last night the Charlotte Hornets picked 6th overall in last year's draft. The Toronto Raptors have 4 rookies that are like inarguably better than Tijon Salon, who the Hornets took 6th overall last year. The Raptors are pretty good at this drafting thing. I'm fine with where they end up, especially considering the teams in front of them. A lot of them are dum-dum teams who might miss out on good players and send them on down the order to the Raptors. So that's that. No more need to worry and stress over every single win and loss. I'm curious to see what the Raptors do with the final couple games, see if they really kind of ratchet up the juice to kind of like just kind of go out strong. Do they play all their guys? Who's to say? I don't know, but doesn't matter. They're going to be 7th, and we'll see what the cards hold for the next couple of games. Not worried anymore. Not that I preordained this 7th place finish like a month and a half ago in the newsletter. If you read the damn newsletter, let's go to the other news from yesterday, which was Brandon Ingram related. So before the game, Darko Rajovic talked about Brandon Ingram and the update on him. Of course, there was reports yesterday in a practice that he was not going to fully get up to contact, which was the hope for him when Darko spoke to the media last Friday before the Detroit game, where he said, the hope is, it's unrealistic that he's going to play, obviously, but the hope is he can get up to some contact practice in the next week or so, get some in before we head off for the summer. That did not happen, and Darko Rajovic said yesterday that there's been a PRP injection put into the injured ankle of Brandon Ingram as he recovers. I'm not a doctor, but the explanation from Darko was essentially the recovery is going well. They saw a specialist. Specialist says recovery is going fine, but the PRP injection is meant to kind of accelerate the healing process so we can start his summer work as soon as possible. Look, it's not great that he missed 4 months of the season with a sprained ankle. You hope that it's something that a very long offseason, which the Raptors are staring down, can help to rectify and get in order. He's going to have 5 months of summertime to fully rehab and get back up to speed. But yeah, it's worth noting that, hey, Brandon Ingram actually did seem like he was hurt. Didn't feel like the Raptors were fully just kind of like, yeah, he's still hurt. He's still hurt as they tried to tank their way to the end of the season. So take that for what it's worth. If you find it to be concerning and you want to spiral about the health of Brandon Ingram, you can go ahead and do that. I just generally think this is, a precautionary thing for a team that had no incentive to really play him and that just paid him $40 million and wants to ensure that he's going to be good to go going into next season. So here's hoping all is well with Brandon Ingram, but that is the latest on him. And I can't wait to to see Brandon Ingram play with this basketball team. It's a shame we didn't get to see it at some point this year. It would have been cool to get at least some idea of how he fit with the other guys. In particular, I think the fit with RJ Barrett is a fascinating thing to consider, just because Barrett, we talked about it ad nauseum on the show. He's the guy who's the most likely to potentially be moved on this summer of the core guys, if you're just looking at contractual situation and fit and all of that, and just like impact on winning when on the court. Again, I'm pro keeping Barrett around, seeing what happens, seeing how it works, and then figuring it out from there. I'd like to see some actual proof of concept or lack of proof of concept, as it were, before making a decision to just move on from RJ, because I think the most talented version of the team, most likely going into next year, has RJ Barrett on it, barring some RJ plus stuff for an upgrade type of trade, which, always hard to find as much as everyone fantasizes about that kind of thing. So yeah, we didn't get to see it. And I hope we get to see it at some point next year with this whole group before making any kind of decisions. Because again, you can go into the season over the tax. You can get out by the end of the season and not pay the tax. I hope that at the very least, that's the route the Raptors go. And of course, just pay the tax. It's not the end of the world. You're rich people. Be rich. You just paid Vlad Guerrero Jr. $500 million. We know you got the cash, Rogers. We're going to come back on the other side. Close things out with the good, the bad, and the from this game. There's a lot of good in this one. We'll get some on-court stuff. We'll get some off-court stuff. And then we got the bad, the to round things out, including some thoughts on Chris Boucher, who did not play. And I don't know what the hell that means. We'll do that coming up in just one sec. Today's show is brought to you by our friends over at DoorDash. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off and order up to $10 off the next day from noon to midnight. That's pretty sweet. It's the final stretch. There's some really crazy games going on in the Western Conference. Maybe someone's going to pop off for a 50 burger. We know Nikola Jokic has been doing it all the damn time for the Nuggets, as that team is in some weird spots, but they're still trying to win some games down the stretch. Either way, you still have plenty of chances for guys to score 50 between now and the end of the year on Sunday. So you can go and get yourself a discount the next day and, get yourself some lunch, maybe a game day feast the next night. If you're one night of watching basketball, you do it again the next day and you get some grub courtesy of DoorDash as a result. Either way, sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save. When any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50 from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders. At participating merchants must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. And please tip your drivers handsomely. Wrapping things up here on your Thursday edition of Locked On Raptors, the good, the bad, and the We wrap up every single episode of this year's podcast on the heels of a Toronto Raptors basketball game. Of course, this basketball game, the last home game of the season for your Toronto Raptors. I've got a double-barreled good here to get to start things off. A thing I liked. We'll get to a thing I didn't like, and a thing that's got me a little intrigued coming up in a sec. But the good for me was it was really nice to see. Look, this doesn't mean anything. It was against that Hornets roster. And it's been at the end of the season where, they haven't gotten enough sample together, probably that, or at least not as much as the team would have hoped. And the minutes on the floor together have been kind of a disaster in terms of on-off metrics. But it was nice to see Emmanuel Quickley, Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett play together, get the BBQ trio out there for the last home game, and have a pretty nice game all told. It was not like a hugely impactful game from Barrett. He had a couple threes, but he was out there. He was a plus. That's good. Emmanuel Quickley only played 14 minutes. He had this one insane 35-foot pull-up kind of as a direct response to Scotty Barnes banging 2 straight threes from the same spot on the floor. This little 9-0 run that kind of burst the game open for good in the middle of the second quarter. And it was thrilling, Quickley just kind of stepping into it, canning it from super deep, and then running, and Scotty Barnes chasing him down in a very playful fashion. That was all good to see. All those guys are plus in their minutes. This might be the last time we see those three together on the same team in Toronto. It's very possible RJ Barrett gets moved this summer as a matter of the tax situation. And I'm sure we'll talk about that again many times between now and the end of the offseason. But, if he is gone, it was nice to see at least the three guys play together. And my hunch is that he's not going to be gone. We'll see them play together again. And hopefully have better results when they're on the floor together. But yeah, it was nice to see those guys have some fun and go and, punk a really bad Hornets team. And Scotty Barnes had himself a pretty nice game scoring wise. 7 of 15 overall, missed a couple of bunnies here and there, but 17, 11, and 5 in 20 minutes. Yeah, you'll take that. That's a pretty prolific stat line from Scotty Barnes in just 20 minutes of action against a very bad Hornets team. You want to see that. You expect to see that, but still good to see. The bonus good for me. I've had my issues with how the Raptors have executed their 30th anniversary celebrations a bit this year. It's been kind of flat since the Vince Carter night early on in the year. Kind of incoherent at times, and they've, I think, missed a little bit in terms of celebrating things the championship, which was kind of a big deal. But I do think a thing that rocked last night in the building, they did a tribute to Herbie Kuhn at halftime, I believe it was. Of course, we all know Herbie, the longtime only in-arena PA voice the Toronto Raptors have ever had. Herbie Kuhn, a former guest of this podcast as well, the absolute best, an absolute king, from the horn situation at the start of the 2014 playoffs with the Nets to saying things like Dennis Schroeder. And, obviously he's been really the in-arena soundtrack for Raptors fans as long as the franchise has existed. Very cool. And it was an awesome tribute. The players coming up, RJ Barrett, AJ Lawson in particular, two guys who, like, no doubt have been in the building to hear Herbie Kuhn call other guys' names on, when they were kids growing up in the area, now having their names called by Herbie Kuhn. Very cool. Herbie's the best. And we make fun of his pronunciations sometimes, but that's okay. Because, we always make fun of the ones we love a little bit. And Herbie's a real one. He's one of the sort of figureheads of the franchise in many ways. And he was clearly emotional when he got that honor last night as well, and got that tribute in the video and the montage and all of that. And just damn cool to hear him yelling out Herbie Kuhnisms during this montage they rolled. So good job, Raptors, on that one. The bad job, Raptors, on a send-off for Chris Boucher. Will it be a send-off for Chris Boucher? I don't know. Last night, before the game, Darko was asked whether Chris Boucher will play now that, things are kind of settling in the standings and, it's the last home game and all of that. And Darko said, no, it wouldn't be fair to throw him back into action after 4 weeks off. On some level, yeah, I get it. But also, do you see the opponent? I don't know if, like, the Hornets throwing out Damian Baugh are really a team that you're worried about just, like, throwing a guy too quickly back into the fire against. I really wonder if this just means there's some sort of understanding that he's going to be back on the team next season. It seems weird that they wouldn't give the longest serving Raptor and, like, a true fan favorite, like, a proper send-off if this was in fact going to be his last home game here. It makes me wonder if there's, like, a wink, wink, nudge, nudge thing where he's going to come back on a minimum, maybe get the Garrett Temple spot on the roster. I don't know. It's by the way, Garrett Temple had some fun moments in this game. Super fun. We'll get into more in the newsletter if you want to check that out. I'm just going to rank very fun things from this very silly basketball game. But it seems weird that they held him out for 2 months before free agency as well. If it was to, like, that feels like a weird way to treat your guy too. So yeah, I don't know. If I had to guess at this point, I might say it's better than 50-50. He's back in some capacity. Obviously, the money situation will have to be sorted out. It'll have to be probably a minimum contract. Is he going to get more than that somewhere else? Like, does he want more than that somewhere else? He's made some decent money in his career. Maybe he just wants to hang around and be the Udonis Haslam of the Raptors. I don't know. But I hope he's back at this point, because it would be, if he's back, it makes it all less weird and lame. He didn't play last night. If he's not back, it is a damn shame he didn't get a proper send-off. And I think the franchise will probably grow to regret that one. So here's hoping Boucher's back. Weird not see him last night, if in fact it was his final game. And the last thing is it's Jonathan Mogbo's growth. I know I'm a Mogbo propagandist on this podcast and get made fun of it for it all the time in the Locked On Raptors Discord, because the Discord hogs are getting out of pocket. But I thought Darko had some really interesting stuff to say about Mogbo after the game. Obviously, with the triple-double, he was a big topic of conversation in the post-game presser. And he was asked by John Chidley Hill of the Canadian Press just about, like, how he's played as a wing this season versus as a center. And I thought Darko's answer was really interesting, where he just basically said, we're trying to, like, not think about positions with Jonathan. We're trying to just have him play his game regardless of where he's at. And it's on us as the coaches to put players out there who kind of complement him and sort of accentuate the things that he does well. He's going to be taking a lot of threes all summer long. That's no doubt. Like, the future for him, the high upside outcomes are all tied to whether or not he can hit threes, because that's going to unlock a whole lot for him. But as I talked about in the newsletter this week and on the podcast, like, small ball 5 Mogbo is a thing that can work in this league where there are not any good backup centers. They're so bad everywhere. Backup centers are like backup catchers. Most of them stink. If you have a good one, hold on to them for dear life. If you're the Blue Jays, you had 2 of them and you didn't hold on to either of them. I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about Gabriel Moreno at all. Either way, when it comes to Darko's sort of comments on Mogbo, like, I just think it's, like, informative, because we think about positions in this, like, black and white sort of everyone has a position thing sometimes. And that's just, like, an outdated way of thinking. Like, the Raptors don't view guys in sort of positional silos, and they very clearly just kind of want to develop basketball players and then figure out how the skill sets those basketball players have meshed together with other basketball players on the floor. And then you figure out the positional sort of details and the semantics of that later. Really encouraging year from Mogbo overall. I think start to finish, if you just look at the player he was at the start of the season versus what he is now, some real genuine improvements, I think, when it comes to just like his 2-point scoring. He's finishing lobs and throwing everything down. I asked him after the game last night, like, what's the thing that you think you've improved upon the most this season? And he said just like his aggression, looking at the rim, just kind of trying to score more often when he gets the ball in his spots. And Louis Zatzman from Raptors Republic then followed up and asked, like, what about dunking? It seems like you're dunking everything these days. And Mogbo's like, yeah, Darko's on my case all the time to dunk everything. Just like constantly like dunk that, dunk that, dunk that. And I think that's that's great to hear that's been a thing as much as I've been sort of clamoring for that all season long. That Darko's been on it too. Darko, good coach, turns out, knows what he's talking about. And so, yeah, I think Mogbo gets kind of looked at as this sort of curiosity, as this guy who, is what he is because he's an older prospect. He's a late bloomer. He's a hard worker. Darko sung his praises as one of the hardest workers that they have on the team. He's constantly in the gym working, constantly getting shots up. Like, I'm going to bet on guys who do the work. And, again, he might not be a starter. He might not be a sixth man. He might not be a guy who's, logging 30 minutes in playoff games. But the 31st pick becoming like a nice rotational piece with some versatility, who elongates your lineups, who can play some small ball five and get a triple double once in a while. Like, yeah, that's an all right kind of guy to kind of bank on it and kind of have in your mix. And I think that's really on the table here from Mogbo. And yeah, been a really encouraging last couple of games. Nice to see him getting full sort of green light to just go do a whole bunch of stuff with the ball. Been very fun. We're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. We'll be back again on Friday, as it'll be Toxic Positivity Friday, the last Toxic Positivity Friday of the year. I got to retire the bit because I'm tired, frankly, and we're going to be into the off season. And, there's no needing to turn up the blinders to anything bad because the basketball is behind us. And so we'll close out Toxic Positivity Friday tomorrow. I might try to get a guest on for that one, just talk about the best things from this season, kind of send us off into the weekend in a nice note. And then, well, obviously next week we'll talk about the final couple of games, locker cleanouts next week. We'll get the full breakdown from that, as I'll be there at OVO Center when they do it. So yeah, just speeding up here, just getting rolling as the draft is now getting closer. The lottery is just a month away. All kinds of fun stuff on tap here. Please follow, subscribe, rate, review, tell a friend, support the show any way you can. It's very much appreciated when you do it. And of course, you can also support the newsletter. QR code on the screen, link in the description of the podcast if you're not listening, if you're not watching on video. And a reminder, you can win some stuff if you subscribe to the newsletter between now and April the 30th. If you do that, you'll be entered into a draw to potentially win either a $200 Fanatics gift card as the third prize, a $300 Game Time gift card as the second prize, or a $2,500 Best Buy gift card to upgrade your sports cave. Go do that. Just subscribe. It takes no time at all, and it's 100% free. You get my emails 5 days a week with fresh words about your Toronto Raptors. I've loved doing it all season. I feel like I'm covering the Raptors the way I've always wanted to cover the Raptors, now having the newsletter. And I appreciate anyone who supported it. We're over 2,000 subs. It's amazing. Keep it going. And if you haven't signed up yet, now is the time, because you can win some stuff by doing it. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you again on Friday with another episode of Locked On Raptors. Thanks for hanging. Bye-bye. Damn it.